I'm being stupid.
No, I love the special effects. It's bigger than our regular budget can afford, so that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I gotta get that Unreal Engine money.
Yeah, real-time rendering of the sets? Isn't that what they're using?
Yeah, something like that. It makes it render a lot quicker, and you don't notice it unless you have it like on a big screen. That there's some maybe some stuff that'd be a little more noticeable. I see Dave's icon on here. Is Dave?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hang on.
Oh, I hear him. I still.
He's over in the cargo hold.
What if he doesn't survive? No.
Yeah.
I had a bad motivator. Can you see me?
I can see your icon. Did you press the camera button?
Let me see. Hold on.
This is great television or YouTube vision. Oh, there
we go. And this is on my laptop finally.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting a bit late tonight, but that's totally fine.
Use my phone. I got like the double camera one.
Okay.
But not like the triple camera one. Yeah. It's just one.
Oh, that's good. Got the Commando. Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of Commando, how about Mando?
Yeah.
There's
this episode really put the Commando in Mando, but not in like with no clothes or anything. It was
Mando goes Commando.
I don't like where this is going. But
those aren't pants. Oh,
what?
I don't know.
No,
just the way we take off our pants. What? That's not the way.
Yeah, this is a family show. No, it's not really. But okay, yeah. So episode 6 of The Mandalorian, and coincidentally, What If He Doesn't Survive? I gotta say, this is possibly my favorite episode of the show so far. Simply because this is everything I kind of want it to be post that first 3-episode arc that we've kept talking about, and it's the scum and villainy aspect of the show that I think has been sorely missing. I mean, the Mandalorian's been in like bars and different spaceports and things, and there's kind of people he runs into in the background, and then we had that wannabe bounty hunter from the last episode, but this time he's running with his old crew for the one job kind of a deal, and it's just great. And there's all sorts of wonderful geek catnip throughout the episode. You've got Clancy Brown showing up as a bounty hunter. Did you guys catch the actor who played the pilot on the prison ship?
Matt Lanter?
Which one? Oh yeah.
Yeah, the kid who doesn't make it. Do you know who where he's from?
Clone Wars, right?
Yeah, Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
In Clone Wars. Yeah.
Oh, really?
The voice. He was not Hayden Christensen.
The less boring Anakin. All right.
Did you also catch who the X-wing pilots were?
Yeah, Dave Filoni, Deborah Chow, and Ricky Boy, Ricky Famuyiwa.
Famuyiwa.
I like Mike's pronunciation better. No, I thought I recognized Filoni. But that's great. There's just so much cool, fun stuff going on in this episode, including that little stinger we got. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but it gets really slasher movie-ier, like towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
And I did like that little stinger that they're all just alive and in this in this prison cell.
Again, it goes back to what I was saying in other chapters, is that it is still showing who this Mandalorian is. He's not a ruthless killer. He preferred to leave people alive, maybe harm them. At the end, this space garage or port or whatever you want to call it, does blow up, right?
It gets ruthlessly attacked. I mean, the hangar gets pretty well destroyed, but we don't.
But the prison, they're all escaping. They're okay.
Yeah.
Well, the prison ship, but the garage thing that Dave's talking about, I like that you refer to it as a garage. It's left ambiguous because when Mando jumps to hyperspace with the child, I'm trying to not call him Baby Yoda because when we find out what his real name is, it's not going to be Baby Yoda, and it's just, I'm bracing myself. But when they jump
all
through,
the actual Yodas are gonna like call us racist for calling him Yoda or something.
that's right.
Yeah.
That was his Slave One name. But but when they jump into hyperspace, you see the X-wings going in to do some more damage. But we never get the big hero shot, the Death Star exploding shot. So it might still be there.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up is just because, you know, if Mark Boone Jr.'s character Ranzar or Ran, and their captive that they went after, this other Twi'lek guy, Quinn, if they were killed in that explosion, it wasn't necessarily Mando's fault. So it goes back to what I'm saying is like, yeah, he could have dispensed them, but you know, he just kind of left them for somebody else.
Yeah, and I wonder about that because we still don't know a whole lot, at least not that I can remember, of what we've learned about Mandalorian, about his life previous to meeting the child. So when you said, David, that he's not the kind of guy who's just going around ruthlessly killing people, he may have been before this happened because he did talk. There was that one illusion.
Like he was when he hung out with those guys when he was talking to Mark Boone Jr., aka I still remember him as the guy who ran the motel in Memento,
and Detective Flass in Batman Begins.
Yeah, exactly. You don't like Falapo? Yeah, and then he just kind of played like scummy guy. He's kind of. This is when he played like a nice dude in Memento, but like he kind of like they kind of said like in the old days, no questions asked.
Yeah,
you know, don't worry about it. Like he did some shit. You know.
Well, yeah, and there's a story that is Jian the female the Twi'lek. She had one of those stories that we kind of see in these badass movies, like, oh well, there was that one mission that no one likes to talk about, or don't get him started on that, and kind of intimating that he wiped out a whole bunch of people when things got bad. So I wonder how much of that is him just turning over this new leaf because he's taken on this role of protector of again, like hyper adorable little baby Yoda. Sorry, the child.
Yeah, you just get the idea that something clicked within him once he realized what the client's bounty was, and that was, when he saw the child, that something clicked within him, and that's why we're getting these flashbacks of when he was a child and how he was saved, and now this is his chance to save and screw everybody else, So I think that there is this kind of, at least I want to believe that, he was once a ruthless bounty hunter, and now he's a bounty hunter for basically to make ends meet, not just for, fortune and glory, kid. It's more of a, to get fuel and food and, bone marrow, bone broth. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk briefly about this crew that he kind of reconnects with.
Yeah.
Bill Burr, I think, was the big kind of draw.
Surprise.
People saw that he was
Billy Redface.
Yeah. when he was sort of teased earlier on that he was going to be in this series, I think a lot of people were interested in. I thought he did a great job playing Mayfeld. I like the little pop-up gun he had on his shoulder. I do like that the muscle, the character Berg, played by Clancy Brown, was supposed to be the big enforcer badass, but he was just completely useless when the shit hit the fan.
Yeah, and those who aren't familiar with Clancy Brown, he was the hard-ass security guard in Shawshank Redemption. Maybe if you're a gamer, he was in Detroit Become Human. He's that cop next to the robot cop that you're always with, who kind of finds his humanity. So yeah, it was him just kind of playing like the tough, sort of meathead role again.
The guy's in everything. He was Highlander, and he voiced a bunch of characters in Star Wars Rebels. So and he was in The Punisher, and he was in Daredevil. It's just like, geez.
And he was in Pet Sematary too, you guys. Come on.
That's true. How could we forget? And some Coen Brothers films. So it's like, he's everywhere.
Yeah, and I really liked this crew. There was not like really a dud among them. I think they all brought something kind of fun to this mission, which I love that part of the Mandalorian's frustration, and this was all an episode about frustration because he lands in this port. I think why does he go to this space garage? Was it just to fuel up, or was it some kind of refuge? I don't know that was made clear.
I get the feeling that maybe
anywhere he goes, people are gonna know where he is.
Yeah, I get the feeling that this stopover, he knew that there'd be a possibility, because he knew Ran, that there'd be a possibility of not only getting some fuel, but maybe picking up some work, or maybe Ran called out to him prior to the episode began, said, hey, if you want some work, because their plan was to lure him in and kind of double cross him, pretty much. So,
like this weird revenge plot, and maybe that's how they got him. To Dave, to your point, if everybody in the galaxy knows that he's a wanted man, this would be the perfect chance for them to say, hey, we're still your friends. Come check us out.
Right.
But everything goes south because the plan keeps changing. It's like, okay, you're going to be part of this crew, and also we're going to use your ship. It's a prison vessel, but it's a New Republic prison vessel. There's only droids on board. Oh wait, there's a humanoid who's piloting the ship. At every turn, things just keep going south, and he has to be resourceful and eventually turn into the Star Wars version of Jason Voorhees if he was ultimately a pacifist. It's fun.
Jason X,
yeah. Mandalorian gets an upgrade
with corridor shots and flashing lights and red hallways.
So we also have a droid pilot named Zero, voiced by Richard Ayoade.
Voiced by Richard Ayoade. Yeah. And help me out. Was the message that he saw from Carl Weathers' character, was that a new message, or was that one of the old beacons from when he'd escaped?
I think that was, he was looking at his archives, and I think that was probably the message that what's his name? Grief Karga had probably originally mentioned. That he's like, I think that was after he got the child, and he's like, oh yeah, come on back, so he was looking at his, I think, files of what his recent bounties were.
Did
you get all that? Was I breaking up?
That's possible. I mean, there was a nice little bit of ambiguity. The message was playing, but it was kind of choppy, and you're left to wonder what exactly you're watching.
So it's kind of,
which lends itself to the character kind of being confused about what they were seeing.
Yes, exactly. So I was playing it out for you.
Yeah.
I liked the episode. I did like as a standalone episode. I liked it a lot. I'm gonna have my usual complaint that it's not really advancing the story anymore. Like, we kind of already know all these things about the Mandalorian. We know he's not a ruthless killer, and we kind of know in each episode, okay, someone's gonna double cross him. And then he's gonna fight them, and the kid, and he's gonna save the kid at the last minute, and everything will be all right. And it was a little familiar, but
you guys are both freezing a little bit. I don't know. All right.
So anyway,
carbon freezing.
Yeah, like I was saying, I liked the episode. It did go over some things that I felt was a little too familiar, which is I want to see the actual story progress a little more. I know I'm kind of harping on that a lot, but and I felt like it had a lot of familiar elements. Someone's gonna backstab the Mandalorian who's doing a job with him. They're gonna double cross him, so he's gonna save the child at the last minute, and he has to go somewhere to find work where he can't find work before. Like, this, between all three episodes, are interchangeable, but between the interchangeable episodes as of recent, I enjoyed this one the most because it took sort of the underworld elements of the Mandalorian and really heightened them to a sense where it wasn't just playing Star Wars fan service. It really felt more like its own independent property, far more than the recent two episodes did. this felt like The Mandalorian directed by Ridley Scott in a way, with sort of the light horror-esque elements to it. It, was a heist movie, which is fun. It's fun to see a heist element put in Star Wars. And yeah, the banter between all the kind of disposable characters, which it's okay that they were disposable. We don't need to know much about them. Was fun. So it was a very enjoyable 43 minutes, despite my usual complaints. So, I mean, like, if I scored it, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. While the others, like, maybe like a 3 out of 5. Well, the Bryce Dallas Howard directed episodes, maybe a 2.5. Yeah.
She didn't appear as a pilot in here, so whatever.
Yeah, what happened? What's up with that? But no,
what happened to that cameo at the end of the last episode? Oh, wait, I think that's coming out in the new one because that's the episode they're airing on Monday, where the description, if I'm reading it correctly, was that the Mandalorian runs into an old acquaintance who he does a job with. Wait, wasn't that this episode? What the heck?
I don't know. Well, that brings us to another point. Is we're getting an episode on Wednesday this week. So it's coming out. We'll be talking about it kind of day and date when it hits. We were talking about this at the end of the last episode. This idea of story arcs and how I was a little bit nervous that based on episode 6, which we're talking about now, if they didn't begin sort of ramping into beginning, middle, and end the way that they had begun the series, I was going to get a little concerned if it was just standalones through the end of the show.
Oh.
And this was a standalone episode, but I think, to quote Jules from Pulp Fiction, personality goes a long way. There's so much going on and so many cool characters and weird situations that I was not sitting there focusing on, like, what does this have to do with the grander narrative? Is there a grander narrative? What am I doing? So I was totally fine with it.
Like the other two, I didn't feel like I was checking my watch, which was the nice thing. And I did get the actual description to the next episode now. It says, an old rival extends an invitation for the Mandalorian to make peace. Carl Weathers?
Enter Giancarlo Esposito. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Yeah. Giancarlo Esposito.
With this episode, I think what's interesting, too, is I think it's primarily Mayfeld, Bill Burr's character, who is referencing both The Last Jedi and the prequels.
Yeah.
He does a great impersonation of a Gungan, or at least his own impersonation. And also, there's a mention of Canto Bight, which was interesting. The gambling.
Yeah, doesn't he calls doesn't he refer to the Razor? What's the name of it? Razor
Crest. Yeah.
He said it reminds him of a Canto Bight slot machine, which I thought that was a nice laugh out loud moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also a really nice tense scene where the bounty hunters are hanging out on the ship on their way to the mission, and they get into the whole idea of the Mandalorian never taking off his helmet,
right.
And it gets into going back to thinking about the Mandalorians as a religion and the idea of, like, just come on, take off your helmet. What's the big deal? Just like take it off and show us your face. He won't do it because it's very personal to him. You don't get the feeling that he's trying to protect something or hide something. It's just that's his belief. And if you want to take that out into contemporary society, you look at people with different religious beliefs and different manner of dress, and people like, oh, why are they people wearing funny costumes and just cultures that don't understand other cultures. We get a bit of that in the Star Wars universe, and it's handled, I think, in a really cool and interesting way. Because if the Mandalorian can be, can stand up to that, and we can understand that it doesn't matter what other people think of his religion. It's a matter of him staying strong in his convictions. And it's a nice little message delivered in the middle of this badass scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like that. Did you... I had a little bit of anxiety whenever like somebody else is grabbing the child. So it's like, I'm like, and there's
stop him.
Yeah, I think it was Mayfeld who grabbed him and was like, or whatever. He's like, hey guy, and it was just like, and then later on, when they finally get back to. Well, actually, it was later on. It was the droid Zero who was in the ship with the child, and right before we get the idea that the droid was, Zero was a real threat to the child, and we get the idea that the child was about to use the Force on him, maybe. He was like reaching out to him and closing his eyes, and then boom, Mando comes back and saves him.
And that's the classic. That's a cliche that we've seen in a lot of kind of action movies and sometimes action comedies, where you've got the person in danger. Maybe they've got the gun and they're going up against this unstoppable force, and they shoot and the thing falls down. You think, oh, they did it, but it was the person behind them. We've seen that, but you add an adorable baby Yoda to the mix, and plus the fact that he's raising his little Muppet hand. You think he's actually affecting him somehow. It's a nice little bit of sleight of hand.
That's right. It was fun.
They did about like 4 episodes though. Like, let's see, the first episode they did that when you first discover Baby Yoda. They did that in the 3rd episode when you thought the sniper was going to shoot him, and then they did that in this. Oh wait, and then they did it in the previous episode where you thought he was going to get shot, and then Mando shoots the pretty boy. I don't remember his name, and then they did that in this episode where you thought the baby was going to get shot, and then Mando shoots someone.
So if anything, they're consistent.
Yes.
So the Skywalker saga has characters getting their hands cut off in every movie, and the Mandalorian has character death fake-outs in every episode. Okay,
that's right.
But here's the thing: until you pointed out to me, like when you started rattling that off, I'm like, oh, of course, they've just been doing this the entire time. They've just been redressing it. I didn't notice it. It feels new to me every time that I watch it because it's always something slightly different.
Yeah, and I think it's also because you're invested in the new environment, the new situation, the new characters, and you're wondering really who to trust in this series. Obviously, this team, if the Mandalorian worked with them in the past, then they can't truly be trusted. And sometimes you work with people that you just have to because that's the job, that's the situation. And I really liked how when the Mandalorian realized that he was being double crossed, he was still pretty calm and cool, and he just flipped the switch on them, and he's like hanging out in the control room and just like, all right, let's see, I'm just gonna shut down these doors, and I really liked even the motif of all the interior was like stark white, and then all of a sudden once he flipped the switch on them and closed down all these doors, then it became this like scarlet red, and the lights went out and came back on. So they, the director and cinematographer had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, it was kind of like a cross between the ending of Rogue One with Darth Vader, and the climax, one of the climaxes of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
I wouldn't know. Haven't seen it.
Horizon or any space horror movie.
Right.
Dead Space. That's a game that.
Hey, speaking of Rogue One, this, when I had heard that they were making a Star Wars heist movie about, getting the Death Star plans, this 43, 37, whatever minute episode of The Mandalorian had everything that I thought I was going to get out of Rogue One. Like, this is how you do a Star Wars heist movie.
Yes. I think we might be in the minority on Rogue One. I initially liked it a lot, but then I look back and I'm like, man, all those characters were really disposable. And,
well,
like,
well, I mean, they eventually became disposable.
Well, yes, exactly. Yeah. That's pun intended. And like, there's nothing that really made me relate to them. And here, like, we already relate to the Mandalorian, and the other guys are meant to be kind of just thrown out. Where, like, in Rogue One, you had Shooter McShooty-Face, who was with Jyn Erso, and then you had Nervous Pilot Guy. I don't know their names top of my head, but this is like how people remember them. And then, nothing about them really made them discernible, and, like, the only thing that was entertaining about Rogue One was all the callbacks and stuff, and George Lucas did say, these movies aren't about spaceships, and Rogue One was all about the spaceships, and this one was more like a fine-tuned episode, as maybe Rogue One.
Well, I think, it would have been really interesting if the Resistance, in their desperation, had to turn to like a gang of bounty hunters to go get the Death Star plans, because they're the only ones who would have been able to infiltrate or be ballsy or stupid enough to go up against the Empire, try and get into their giant fortress.
Yeah.
It's just, I love, I'm a broken record here, but the characters that we meet in this episode, we don't get a lot of the backstory. We don't get a lot of like depth to them, but we know instantly who they are. And a lot of that comes across in both the dialogue and the performances. I'm with you, Mike. I can't tell you, aside from maybe some of the actors who played in Rogue One, because I've seen them in other things. I don't know who their characters are, what they were about.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, that's the janitor from the terminal. That's all I remembered when I.
You guys do know that Saw Gerrero is played by Forrest Whitaker. Come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But he's in it for 5 minutes. I mean, that's the thing. Is like he's. I think there was more. That was geek catnip for the people who'd been paying attention to. What was it? Was it
Clone Wars, and then eventually Rebels? Yeah.
Right, and he's painted as this, mythical badass character, and then he shows up for 5 minutes and he's gone, and like, I don't understand what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and like he also makes a brief appearance in Jedi Fallen Order, and by the way, one of the best Star Wars video games I've played in years. But yeah, we don't know much about him. All I know is that he just spoke in a silly voice in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So back to the prisoner. I did find it interesting that this prisoner transport. I did find it interesting that it was a transport. So I'm wondering, obviously, it's a transport. Where did it come from, and where was it going? Obviously, it was part of the New Republic. So I was wondering. I mean, it seemed like it was pretty loaded. I love that scene when they first entered and they're walking the hallways, and we see it's kind of a Arkham Asylum or prisoner trope where you see all these, they're walking past all these cells and they see all these different characters and stuff. I was wondering where they were taking all these, transporting them, all these prisoners to.
I think Michael Fassbender was roaming some of those other quarters, like he was on the way to the planet to impregnate all of them with his new alien hybrid spawn.
It must be.
Oh yeah.
Do we know? I don't know if you've done any digging into this, but it's the internet, right? So I'm sure people have their theories, but we get very brief glimpses of some of the people who are in those cells. Any theories about like, oh, this is that character from this comic book or something?
Some of the aliens and the creatures looked familiar, but I don't know if there was a whole lot of Easter eggs dropped there. It could be, and we just haven't found them yet.
Yeah, I'm sure people will go frame by frame and look it up and stuff like that. But nothing particularly stood out to me.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Easter eggs, I want to end this conversation with a bit of speculation based on the last episode that our good friend Sajiwa sent to us via Twitter, or at least to me, and I think, David, I don't know if you were on that. I think you saw it. I think it was a Screen Rant article about how the mysterious shadowy figure we saw bending over the bounty hunter corpse in the last episode is going to be Boba Fett.
Oh yeah, we were
Please,
talking
no.
about that last episode. Like, it's not going to happen. That would be too easy. It would be.
That'd just be dumb.
Yeah, I just think that that's something you don't want to do right away. That's too much fan service or disservice.
Right. Here's my question though. Can you imagine a way in which they reintroduce Boba Fett or introduce him into this series that doesn't suck?
Yeah, but you'd have to take your time to do it. You can't do it right away.
It'll be like, you're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
Well, I guess we'll bring that up in the post-mortem of this show once we find out how the first episodes all play out. I mean, I can just imagine. I think the final episode is either going to end with Boba Fett showing up in some capacity, or the Mandalorian taking off his mask off screen or something like that, having a Tony Stark "I am Iron Man" moment. I hope that doesn't happen, but I could see them doing something like that. If
I would love it
when he ate his food in the village.
What's that?
I would love it if he just. I would love it if he just turns around and takes off his helmet, and it's like that's it.
And it's like
Gungan. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Gungan, yes.
Oh, jeez.
Bill Burr,
Yeah.
gotta love him.
No way.
I would love for them to go, but him to go to. I don't know if it's second season or whatever. I'd love for him to go to like Endor for some reason, and I want to see some Ewoks. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see some Ewoks in episode 9, which is coming out this week.
9?
Yeah, of Star Wars.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah, that thing.
All right. See, we're so used to calling these chapters episodes. You got me confused.
Yeah, they're called chapters. That is really confusing. Why do they call it chapter instead of episode?
To differentiate themselves from the movies.
Yeah, probably. Well,
Yeah.
so we'll be talking. I'm sure we'll be talking about Rise of Skywalker soon as well, and probably do like a post Mandalorian. Like maybe we can do an episode 9 of What If He Doesn't Survive to talk about.
Oh yeah,
the whole series.
I was just thinking that would be fun.
The franchise doesn't survive.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some talking to do. That's all I know. So
I wonder.
Oh, go ahead.
Really quick. I wonder if at the end of episode 8, since they have filmed some of season 2 already, if they're going to be like next season on Mandalorian,
Yeah, like a little preview.
They might. I almost think they have to, because that was one of the other stories I started seeing this week. Is concern on behalf of Disney Plus that once The Mandalorian ends its 8-episode run, that people are going to unsubscribe until season 2 comes out.
Or they might have a trailer for Obi-Wan.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think they even started filming that.
They might have, and we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's bizarre to me. I mean, I understand that there's certain people who only subscribe to Disney Plus for Mandalorian, but
yeah,
come on, aren't you browsing around, elsewhere to see what else the whole service offers? I mean, I've been having fun with the Imagineering's documentary series and the crazy Forky stuff and the Jeff Goldblum stuff. It's fun, and we know that eventually, I would imagine if Disney is playing their cards right. Speaking of, like as far as the Marvel stuff, you have Black Widow in May and theaters. I would imagine that they would probably drop a Winter Soldier, Falcon next summer or fall, because you really only have Black Widow and Eternals in the fall. So I'm sure they're gonna. I mean, because I know they're filming Winter Soldier and Falcon, so I'm sure they're going to drop something the first season of that series middle of next year.
Yeah.
In answer to your question, I have not been digging around Disney Plus since the first weekend it came out. I'm pretty much just watching Mandalorian because we're in the thick of award season.
Sure.
So I'm trying to keep up with other things. But now that Mandalorian is going away, I probably will be digging in to see some of these other original series and also catch up on some classic stuff. But I don't know how representative our point of view is for these like the average Star Wars geek who's just like I'm going to pay my $6 a month for 2 months and then I'm going to drop out until maybe I'll hear about the Marvel thing or whatever. Although on the other hand, you've got a lot of people who paid up front for the year to get that discount. So maybe they won't watch it, but they'll have it, so they can if they want.
And it's a great chance to catch up on Clone Wars and Rebels, and to fill in your Star Wars gaps.
Yeah.
So,
believe me, I'm not wishing Disney experience a mass exodus of subscribers.
Yeah. But it's inevitable. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh boy. It's too early for Palpatine. We have another few days. But
Wow.
On that note, thank you again for surviving another episode with me. To those of you out in YouTube land, remember to like and subscribe and smash that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment in the comments section. You guys, David, you find this shilling way too funny.
Because I could tell Mike's waiting to go smash it, smash that like button, still smash. You want to touch it?
Oh my goodness!
Great, disturbing.
You see this lightsaber?
I think you are actually costing us subscribers, guys.
I think
thank
we're
you.
just creating Star Wars porno now.
What? Episodes?
Go with your dark side.
Episode 69.
Hopefully, we'll get 69 viewers now, subscribers. So.
Oh, I hope so.
Well, short for a Jedi.
Oh God. All right. Well, good night, guys. We'll talk again real soon because we got another one of these episodes come up in a couple of days. So
all right.
All right. May the force be with you.